Hello gamers, Powered Heal here. So I just wanted to do a quick little video along with the planner. I already linked it in the description. I commented it to a few guys, but I wanted to make a video to go along with it because I wanted to explain some things. I thought I had made one, so my bad about not including one. But it may have been also because it's kind of difficult to really set up a planner because a lot of the stuff is very dynamic, especially when you're doing something like solo self-found, which is kind of like the default mentality I have for this game because I always play SSF. But I'll kind of walk you through the main things you should be looking out for. And obviously, you know, a bunch of this stuff can kind of change. You don't need the exact bases that I have. I'll let you know, like, the good bases, though, that I think are good. And then you don't need all the uniques and stuff. So, Peak of the Mountain, this is easy to get, and you want this. On all the items, I only put the damage-related stats on them, so the prefixes. For suffixes, it's just going to be completely dependent on what you're able to get on there, right? So, obviously, resistances come first, and then health. If you're going for ZHP, which you can do, but I feel like it does sort of struggle a bit in, like, if you play ZHP, like, 600 to 800 health in, like, 300-ish corruption, which is around, like, probably where you're going to, like, 300 corruption is around the baseline of where you want to be late game, because that's around where things kind of, you know, they don't scale much after that, right? The way the version I'm playing now can play comfortably probably in like 500 to 1,000 corruption, which is, I would say, kind of ideal, which is again why I think the tankier version is superior, at least for just general gameplay. Obviously, if you're trying to push like super high corruption, there's no point in investing into HP at all because you're eventually going to get one tap. The build doesn't have enough defensive layers to survive like that high, you know, like regardless, right? So the only way you can kind of play that high is just by not getting hit. So you just use your Silver Shrouds and hope. But yeah, for like normal gameplay, yeah, you're just going to want to get your resistance is capped and then life when you can. So Peak of the Mountain, this is mainly for the crit. You're going to want probably at least like a 3 LP on this baseline. The chest, so the chest is, it's a great chest, but if you can't get a hold of this, you can use a different one. Maximum Ballista is ideal here, and then you just have Dex and whatever else you can get for life and stuff. When you get these like big pieces like this, especially a chest slot, because each individual mod on the chest slot has a lot more value, right? So what that means is if you can, you want to try and do things like seal an affix, right? It gives you an extra affix or something like that. You can corrupt if you get multiple of the same item, or not like multiple of the same item, but if you have two kind of like competing items that are fairly similar, you can corrupt one of them and see if you can get a bit of extra power. You obviously don't want to corrupt things that, you know, you're relying on using because that could brick them. So not good there. But yeah, this chest is really great because it gives you a bunch of glancing blow and lightning res, and the armor is great in low corruption, right? If you like, once you get past like 1,000 corruption, you're not going to notice the armor differential because like things just do too much damage. But before that, it's quite good. And yeah, getting this extra glancing blow may help you remove points from glancing blow in the tree, which we'll talk about in a moment. Then we'll go into this right here. So I actually think that this Quiver is, I didn't have this in my initial build. I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't include it because I was under the impression it was more difficult to get than it actually is, but it's actually not that bad. And I think, you know, you can see it's 166 for 3 LP, which is very doable when you have Nemesis and the turtle and everything like that. So I think it's definitely worth using this. The thing is, it's contingent on the base being good, so you need a high crit multi-roll, at least like over like 25-ish, combined with a high flat lightning roll for the bow. The lightning throwing doesn't do anything for you, so you're only concerned about the lightning bow. So I don't know, look for anything over 25 lightning bow, like 25, 27 plus. You know, if you have a really high lightning bow roll, then you can obviously have a less good multi-roll, but ideally you want multi probably over 25 as well. So yeah, that's what you want to do on the quiver. The thing is, this quiver, even if you only get like a 2 LP, right? Think about it like this. You're basically getting like a tier 1 roll from the lightning itself, and you're still using the best base. So it's like you're using a base with a tier 7 on it implicitly. And then you get 2 more mods you can add to it, right? So even if, you get 2 more mods you can add to it, right? So, and one of those is going to be probably damage orientated. Well, you could do something like dexterity, but I actually prefer to just put chill and shred. Chill is actually quite good on rares. On bosses, it has a reduced effect, but it's still good. Personally, I think a lot of the bosses in this game can be done without like all of the ailments. So, yeah, just something to kind of keep in mind there. But I think just for general mapping, it's good. Also, I'm tempted to try blind on this as well. So maybe like blind instead of chill, or just incorporating blind into the build somehow. I'm not really sure how I would do it, and then I could drop like a bunch of the nodes that give you crit avoidance or whatever, because I don't know, against most things, you're not going to... The thing is, this game does not... Crit is not as ubiquitous in this game as it is in a game like Path of Exile. I ran without crit cap for a long time, even this league, and it was very rare that I would actually die to a crit. So, I just don't think it's, like, I guess the thing is, as long as you have it in some form, it's going to be fine, and even if it's not applied all the time, it's very unlikely that you are actually going to die in a moment where it's not applied. So if you have a decent amount of blind, like if you're... And blind's only 1 stack, so even if you have like 20-30% blind, and you have the ailment transfer nodes on the Ballista, then you're going to have that on rares and stuff very quickly, and it's going to be unlikely that you're actually going to get hit with something that, the mob wasn't tagged with blind already. So I think blind's really good, and you can definitely use it in place of the crit avoidance, on a build like this at least, because you're not getting hit enough for it to be a problem that you're not tagging everything uniformly with blind. The rings, I use double turquoise ring. You can use the other minion ring if you want, but I find that you just don't need the plus to skills earlier on. If you're lacking certain things, you can use it. The thing is, people don't realize how much the 35 crit multi actually adds to your damage. Again, on the rings, I have just the damage stats because you're going to have to figure out like what you need for your build, resistance and health-wise and stuff. The belt, we have mana regen and minion damage. This is basically like, I would say pretty standard on the belt. The belt's kind of nice because you actually can't really get more damage easily. On the second slot, you can get stuff like physical or cold or whatever, but it's not really worth it, in my opinion. So you just get minion damage and get mana regen, and it's great. And you could also use the roll where it's like you have mana regen after using a potion, and you gain, you gain mana back from using potions. That roll, if you can find it with minion damage, is probably better. My belt just doesn't have that currently. The nice thing about that is that your ballistas are going to produce a bunch of extra potions, and if you ever get yourself in kind of a bad spot, you can kind of just go back over hordes of potions and spam the button, and jump up like 50 mana or something like that. So the build doesn't it certainly doesn't need it or anything like that, but it does make it a little bit nicer, I will say. So the gloves can be basically like almost any base. There's the ones that have mana regen, those are fine. There's the one that has void res, those are fine. There's the necrotic ones here, these are fine. And then you just want dexterity and then either minion damage or minion damage plus area. The Morning Frost here, you basically just want a 1 LP at some point where you can craft movement speed on. And then that's it. That's all you need, really. And then over here, you have the T-Rex skull here, the Tyrant skull. Now, I initially was kind of not loving this item, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to pick this up because it's super easy to pick up because it's obviously deterministic. You can always get it from the Beast guy. But upon, thinking about it more and really, like, I didn't even really look at the secondary effect. I mean, I knew what it was, but I didn't really bother to test anything about it, is a better way to say it. So, like, I didn't really notice the uptime I was having on it, but I'm pretty sure when you're in combat, the uptime is nearly like 100% on this buff, because your T-Rex roars a lot, and when he roars, you get the buff. And the buff stays on you for quite a while, and by the time it fades, another one comes up. The only time you're not going to have it is if the T-Rex dies before he would shout again, right? And I'm sure that'll happen sometimes, but it's not going to affect your uptime too much because the T-Rex comes back pretty quickly, and he's probably going to roar again immediately. So, yeah, it's the buff is just insane because the 25 physical doesn't get put through any sort of coefficient. It's just straight added onto your damage. Then you're going to have at least probably 100 dex with this build, probably a little bit more. So you're gaining like 20 attack speed for your Ballista, which is insane because it's really hard to get attack speed from other sources. You're gaining the 2 minion skills right out of the gate. You're gaining the 4 to all attributes. All attributes on this and the Peak of the Mountain are underrated because they're only giving you, a small amount of dex, you could say, right? But the reality is that Vitality is a really nice stat for you. In the sense that you're basically gaining like 9 necrotic, 9 poison, and 9 what do you call it? 9 necrotic, 9 poison, and 9 void. I think it is. Yeah, I'm not sure, but physical, I forget. But you're gaining like res from the vitality as well, right? So in addition to a little bit of extra health, so that's always welcome. And it actually you gain 6% more damage as well because your endurance threshold is, you start at a base of 20 and the cap is 60, and if you get the mineral on this, which is 10, then you'll be at 30. So you have like, I think it says damage per uncapped endurance. Yeah, so you'd have 30 uncapped endurance, right? And then 6% of that, or sorry, 20% of that would be around 6% more damage or so. So it's not bad, right? And then you also get a little bit of crit multi per attunement and intelligence. Some people like to stack intelligence on this build. I mean, I don't, not like stack it, but get a little bit more because of your something that's in the aerial assault tree. I don't bother too much with it. So I think getting this stuff is just fine, like letting it be how it is, having the base intelligence you have and the base attunement, and yeah, I mean, you'll have a little bit of extra crit multi, a little bit of extra physical pen, but nothing too crazy. But overall, this is a very solid piece, and it's easy to get 1 LP, and that's kind of all you need for the +4 Ballista, and then you can just corrupt ones that you have that, and you can get 2 mods on it eventually. So very good piece. And then yeah, I think that's all the gear, right? So the tree is just, I'm gonna let you guys just look at the tree. The main thing about the tree is just that you're gonna shift points around depending on whether or not you need crit avoidance. So if you don't need crit avoidance, like if you have some on gear or you're using blind, you would take points out of this. This is still good just for the, where is it? This is still good just for the multi. Something that people might ask is, do you ever try and invest like into this 5-point passive thing, right? Where you gain crit multi based on avoidance? And the answer is pretty much never. Obviously, this is good if you have excess for whatever reason that you can't get rid of in some configuration that's suboptimal, but in any optimal configuration, you're not going to be leaning into this at all. It's a very bad exchange ratio here after the nerf. It got nerfed like 2 patches ago, I think. So yeah, I just don't really bother with that anymore. Also, the health gained on crit, I mean, this node's fine. Like, again, I said if you need to cover your crit avoidance, but the reason why I'm not currently spec'd into it on my version of the build is because I don't need the crit avoidance, and I don't really feel the difference, honestly. In most cases, you're just not gonna, like, it doesn't make the difference you think it does, because I would put it like this. The only time you're having a target where you're consistently able to land all your bolts into it, like a big boss or something like that, you're most likely not going to need the health recovery in that way. Like, just the way that fights like Aberoth, in my opinion, and most of the other bosses play out, you don't really feel the on-hit recovery in a way that is substantial. You can feel free to try it out, play with it, play without it, see how it feels. The other thing about the tree is you're going to always want this glancing blow node, but you may, remove points from something like this, or add points to it. You want a minimum of 5 here to get the plus 15 fizz resist, but other than that, you can add and remove points from glancing blow nodes. I actually don't have these allocated because I don't need them because I use the chest. So these points are invested into Relentless Talons and Evasion Tactics, and Relentless Talons is quite good to max out if you have these extra points because you're kind of like double dipping. You're gaining like 12% damage per point, which is really good. So there's that. Then the blessings, the idols I'll cover. So the idols, this is sort of suboptimal, but realistically, you guys aren't going to have, I don't even have like a GG idol set up yet. I'm nowhere close to it. There's you want the pyramid altar for Bis idols, and then you use the three slot idols that basically they have the same exact stats as these, but they're 3 slot, and they go sideways, right? But the problem is that getting them in that format where they have the right stats is super hard. So basically, just count on having these. You want crit multi in all of them. The ballista damage is also fine, but crit multi is just way better because you're double dipping on all these, and you can test it out on the dummies yourself. You'll see that the damage is way higher. On all the sub things, you want crit and crit multi, mostly for the multi. You want poison res on one of them to help make your poison. This caps you basically when combined with your Spider Silk Sash, and then you want slow on one of these. And then the other ones, it kind of doesn't really matter. You can get crit, but if you have this, you're probably going to be crit capped anyway, right? So it just depends on what you need. And, if you're really crit capped and you don't have anything else to get, you can get slow and hit. You can also get armor shred effect, but I don't think it actually works. I don't think it transfers off of you to the stacks that you're shredding with. So I have to test that more. But that's something to look out for. I would save idols that you see that have a good main role, like Ballista or Crit, and then Armor Shred Effect. So keep that in mind. And then for these, you can just put anything in here that you need to help cap out your res or something like that. So there's that. Then the blessings, you use the Crit multi, the all res. You can switch some things up. You could use the Crit avoidance if you want. And then you only have to get the 30 crit avoidance from the tree here, and you don't have to worry about getting this, right? So you can do that if you want. Physical resistance shred on hit, then minion damage, and then I take mana from here. I think you can also get cold shred potentially. We can see. Let's see. Yeah, you don't need lightning resistance, really, is the thing. You could also get cold damage, but that's not really that great. It's only doing part of your thing. The ward here is also good. Where is it here? So you can do ward decay threshold if you have some way of generating ward, or you can do ward per second, and this is just going to give you a little bit of extra EHP. You could think of it as like that, right? Depending on where you get your mana regeneration, if you can get the mana regeneration, to a point where you don't feel like you're uncomfortable, then you can pick up this and you get a nice amount of extra EHP. So this is to kind of start with, because before you get your mana really set up, what you're going to need to do is kind of do a rotation where you drop all your ballistas, and then you're going to have to regen mana, right? So you want a big enough pool to be able to kind of sustain through that, and that's why we end up starting with this. Other than that, the last thing here is, where is it? Skills. So I have all the skills here. You can just look through them. The main one I wanted to cover is Ballista. A lot of people kind of, in my opinion, overinvest in plus the skills on this skill, and it's not really necessary. I'm going to show you really quickly like what you don't need kind of, right, and what you do need. So you need 3 out of 3 shared enhancements. You need 4 out of 4 perfect aim, okay? You need this node, and you need 3 points in Elixir of Construction. You need some amount of points in Contaminating Shots. You don't necessarily need, you can probably get away with 1 in certain cases, but you definitely want at least 1 there, right? Then this right here, okay, so yeah, then you want stuff in Twin Bolts. Now Twin Bolts is kind of amazing because it does a lot of things. First of all, it's going to apply your ailments way better. I mean, first of all, it's just a crazy damage scaler, right? It's like double shot is insane because you're getting more damage here. You have a lot of attack speed already, so this is great. But yeah, the ailment scaling here for things like Armor Pen and Physical Shred is fantastic. So that's amazing. And then what was I going to say? Oh, and also it kind of helps not having the Bodkin bolts here, right? So you don't need this in my opinion, especially it kind of like not like lower corruption, but like 300 to 500 corruption, probably even 1,000 corruption. I have to test it in 1,000. I haven't tested it yet, but you really don't need this for like 300 to 500 corruption. And in my opinion, you probably shouldn't be farming in 1,000 corruption anyway. It's just not worth your time. So this is just not that important, realistically. So yeah, that's basically everything. You can just kind of tab through for the rest of these. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments. But that's basically everything I wanted to talk about. I think I just want to look through this tree one more time, make sure there's nothing. Yeah, that's basically it. So, you can put a point from, I'm not sure, honestly. I think you probably want to remove 1 point from here and put it in here. If you have a corruption or something like that, you can put another point back in here. That's fine. You have so much attack speed that you actually do get this to proc a lot, and you'll get even more. And again, like it's not something that you just don't get a lot of attack speed outside of like certain things, so it's great. Siege Commander here, this is a good node if you can stay next to them, but it's kind of difficult sometimes. So that's why I don't have it allocated by default. Depends on kind of what you're doing. If you're doing like bossing, it's a lot easier. If you're doing monolith, it's, in my opinion, not quite as good because the radius you have to be to actually give them the buff is quite close. So just something to keep in mind. If you're comparing these two nodes, right, this one is better in my opinion because this one will scale to this one incredibly quickly because your ballistas hit very fast, right? So in 10 hits, this one's already scaled to Frenzy. And it's going to be active all the time until the ballista goes away. It's not going to fade once you leave the area. So that's basically it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you next time. See ya.